Hi, everyone. We're delighted you can join us today to discuss how our medical imaging AI solution is helping hospitals around the world deal with the COVID-19 crisis. We have an exciting lineup of experts to talk about this critical issue, so let's get started. My name is Moshe Becker. I'm co-founder and CEO of RADLogics, which is an AI healthcare software company providing solutions to improve radiologists' performance while also enhancing patients' outcomes. First off, please allow me to thank Nuance for giving us this opportunity to reflect on the tremendous challenge that the COVID-19 pandemic has presented to the healthcare sector and highlight how medical imaging, and in particular AI solutions, have responded to this challenge. We have an amazing lineup to tackle this topic and share unique insights into how medical imaging, radiology, and in particular the AI community are all responding to this enormous crisis. We will be joined shortly by Dr. Elliot Siegel of the University of Maryland School of Medicine, who will be interviewed by our Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Patrick Browning, to share some thoughts on the current situation, the urgent need for innovative solutions, and what we've learned from this moment of crisis. Patrick will then talk to Dr. Sergey Morozov of the Moscow, he's the CEO actually of the Moscow Diagnostics and Telemedicine Center, who will share insight into how Moscow has adopted AI to deal with the current surge in Russia, including by using our RADLogics solution. To close, we will hear from Linda McManus, who recently joined us as our new Executive Vice President and General Manager for the US, Canada, and the Americas after a 20-year stint with Nuance. Linda will provide some more details on our solution and how you can work with Nuance to get a demo, and then how more about it, and then how to use it. Some background about the company. We founded it in 2010. It was one of the pioneers in the use of AI and machine learning, image analysis, combined with big data analytics to search and analyze imaging data from CTs, X-ray, MRIs, and PET scans. As an early mover, RADLogics has accumulated the best know-how and superior algorithm development tools, and team for that matter. In addition, we have partnered with some of the major OEMs distribution partners, including Nuance and others in key markets, US, China, India, Europe. We have today a global reach, which enables us rapid deployment of our solution. In the US, with over 4.4 million COVID-19 cases as of today, and more than 150,000 dead people reported, there is no question that this pandemic has wreaked havoc, on our lives, on our society, and also severely affected the healthcare system. Just today, I read that another hospital, one of the oldest, most prestigious hospitals in Chicago, is actually closing down. Huge pressure on capacity and resources, and financial strain is showing up. And this is clear that this is the fight of our lives. Here at RADLogics, we started to see COVID-19 cases through our deployed systems actually in China. Right after the Chinese New Year, we managed to see initial cases that looked strange even before the disease had its name. And by the end of February, we made a decision to commit and dedicate our entire resources and know-how to fight this disease. We leveraged collaboration with top medical experts from the US and China, including Dr. Siegel, of course, of the University of Maryland, Dr. Adam Benheim from Mount Sinai, and others in China and elsewhere. And we achieved a clinically validated solution initially for CT, and then which was actually delivered for our first pilot customer second week of March. And then 2 months later, we had the same kind of a solution for chest X-rays. Based on the FDA directive, and we were kind of like waiting for that was published in late April, Both our CT and X-ray solutions are FDA authorized. That's the term they use for COVID-19 triage, detection, quantification, and it's all based on the foundation of our existing FDA cleared products for both chest CT and chest X-ray. We are proud now to collaborate with Nuance to make our solutions available as a fully integrated workflow experience to improve efficiency of radiologists and also improve patients' outcome. Reduce burnout for radiologists. Hospitals and healthcare systems, as I mentioned, are really straining it throughout the US. Since the beginning of the pandemic, we responded to in all these frontiers based on 5 years of development of our chest CT package for initially for lung cancer and other diseases. We were already very well positioned, both from the perspective of the technology development, but also in deploying it already in China and other countries. And then we noticed some strange things, as I mentioned, right after the Chinese New Year, of cases that came from China and looked very different than anything we've seen before. Later on, we found out this was our first COVID-19 patient that actually was shown outside of China. As of today, it's 4 months later. That's all. It's incredible what we've achieved. We've deployed our solution globally in 8 different countries. We've processed and analyzed hundreds of thousands of suspected COVID-19 cases to support radiology, ER, and ICU teams, but they have become overwhelmed with the surge of patients. This builds on our decade of experience processing overall millions of CTs and X-ray scans from actual clinical sites, both in the US, Europe, including Russia, and more recently in China and India. At this point, we are very pleased to collaborate with Nuance to make our AR-powered solution available through the Nuance AI Marketplace for diagnostic imaging to the entire US community. This will enable access, immediate access, turnkey access to our solution to all of these hospitals in the US that are connected through Nuance to this diagnostic imaging marketplace. Overall, 7,500 healthcare facilities are connected. It is critical that AR solutions are easy to use and integrate. So besides very advanced, highly clinically validated algorithms, we have put a lot of effort into making sure that the integration with the existing workflow of the radiologist is seamless. We call it zero-click. The information just flows into the environment that radiologists are used to using today. And also the deployment with the help of the Nuance platform can be done literally in minutes. There are no extra steps. Our findings slide right into your current workflow. Radiologists don't need to leave their current screen to review the AI, automatically generated information. And all of this is fully integrated into the new Nuance PS1 environment, as well as the legacy PowerScribe 360 system. They're all supported today. In addition, because this is obviously very important in this case, we also provide real-time alerts to flag findings of priority for facilitating patient triaging. I think at this point, I would like to turn things over to my dear colleague and partner, Patrick Browning, our Chief Medical Officer. Please take it from here, Patrick.
Thanks so much, Moshe, for the introduction, and thanks for that excellent summary of the software. I just wanted to give everybody an idea of the current situation that both the United States and the world is in. The surge is definitely continuing. Worldwide, there have been over 16.9 million cases and 600,000 deaths. In the US alone, we've had 4.4 million, and there have been 150,000 deaths as of today. The virus is highly contagious. Estimates range that 2 to 3 people to up to 9 people will contract the disease from a single person who has COVID, either asymptomatic or symptomatic. 15 to 20% of those people will need therapy of some sort, either in the ICU or in the hospital or at home. Fair Health has determined that for patients with insurance, the costs range upward of $40,000 per patient. And for those without insurance, who tend to be in poorer health, it can be up to $73.3 thousand. It's a huge amount of money when you multiply it by the number of patients. Avalier also did a analysis of Medicare fee-for-service, and they estimated that the total cost to the United States will be in the range of $9.6 to $16.9 billion just in 2020. At this point, it's impossible to estimate how 2021 will be affected. And I don't want you to just take my word for this. I think that our solution and the effect of COVID on the United States and the world has been well documented in the Wall Street Journal and many other publications. I think we can see that we are able to change the turnaround time of studies from hours potentially to minutes through our analytic software. We can see a pressing need for AI coming up. We're going to see increasing significance of the effect that AI has. And AI and automated detection will provide better outcomes and better population analysis for figuring out how to handle things like this in the future. I think we'll be very successful in doing what my colleague Linda has called augmenting the provider and the radiologist, enabling them to provide better care more quickly. And I think we will definitely realize the potential for AI tools here in the near future, especially now that we're able to partner with a successful company like Nuance in getting it in front of people. So along those lines, rather than just listening to me talk, I did want to move on to discussion with two internationally known experts. The first is a man who needs no introduction, but I'll give it a shot. Dr. Siegel is a professor and vice chair at the University of Maryland School of Medicine and chief of radiology and nuclear medicine at the Veterans Affairs Maryland Healthcare System. He's exceptionally well known, and it's been my honor to get to know him. He's been named as Radiology Researcher and Radiology Educator of the Year by radiology peers, been named one of the top 10 radiologists in the country. And we've been very fortunate to have him assist with some of the early research and development we did, as well as some of the work we've done to validate the effect the software can have in the academic and private practice situation. So I just wanted to say, Dr. Siegel, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, my privilege, Patrick. Looking forward to the discussion, and thanks for the nice introduction and the great information too.
Well, it's well-deserved for sure. So with over 4 million cases reported, and of course there is going to be a delay in elective procedures, and there's potentially going to be a resurgence of cases, I should say. How has the medical imaging community and radiologists responded to the pandemic? I know ACR and others have been modifying their CT stance on chest CT for COVID, but what have been the biggest radiologist adjustments that have had to be made over the last 4 months?
Yeah, well, so as the head of a radiology department at the Department of Veterans Affairs and one of the vice chairs at University of Maryland, we've seen a huge number of changes. One of the interesting paradoxes that we've seen is the fact that as we've taken care of more and more COVID patients, and as we've seen the surge and have prepared for the surge, we actually paradoxically have decreased our coverage and attention for other healthcare issues. So we're seeing less elective surgery. We had seen fewer cardiac procedures, fewer screening procedures. And so we've had to make some really major changes associated with the precautions, not only to patients, but to staff members as well. And we've seen a number of other challenges. One challenge has been associated with the really rapid transition without being fully prepared to go to remote image interpretation rather than doing reading at the hospital. So many of us were prepared for bandwidth requirements and workstation requirements as an adjunct, being able to do interpretation in the evenings or during the weekends. But having ubiquitous utilization by primary care providers, dermatologists, other specialists, and radiologists have created some unique bandwidth issues and unique requirements for being able to practice. And one of the major changes that we saw during the COVID period was a dramatic drop in volumes. We saw drops of decreases of 60 to 70%. And I think across the country, many practices were down to somewhere between 30 to 40%, which created major economic challenges to those departments and major issues with regard to being able to continue operations given the significant financial hit.
I totally agree. And I think the sense of urgency that I've seen across the country is probably paralleled by you. It's just been an incredible impact on imaging as a whole. How have you seen that AI tools have been used during the pandemic? And sort of as a follow-on, what have they shown us and where do you see us going from here?
Yeah, so I think that there's a tremendous potential for AI. And there are a few things that AI is doing today and will be doing, I think, in the near future. One of the major things that we're starting to see is actually AI incorporated into image acquisition devices. And so CT, MRI, nuclear medicine, and PET are all seeing vendors with significant advances that allow them to be able to acquire images more rapidly with lower dose, less noise, and improving image quality. So I think one of the immediate impacts has been in image acquisition and image quality. I think the next wave that's going to be really important that people are waiting for and that COVID has accelerated is the whole question of to what extent can AI make us more efficient? There have been a number of different questions related to whether AI would actually slow us down, have us have to go to another workflow and essentially by doing things that are extra, not be quite as efficient. But I think there's incredible potential, and I'm already seeing this with RADLogics in being able to do just what you had mentioned, and that is increase our efficiency. There's a practice that I visited a few months ago prior to COVID that I was really fascinated with, where what they had been doing is having scribes, college students and medical students who came in and did a number of different things that we radiologists have to do manually. And so many years ago, when we created sort of the world's first filmless radiology department at the Baltimore VA, we did quite a few studies. And what we found was that radiologists are only about 15% efficient. That is, they spend about 15% of their time doing radiology interpretation and reasoning and even dictating, and the other 85% is spent in a number of other tasks that are sort of administrative. In this practice, we get up to probably around 80 to 85%. And the question is it possible to utilize AI systems such as RADLogics, and is it possible to be able to use systems such as Nuance to be able to creatively have AI and smart applications do some of the work that those scribes had done? They were able to increase efficiency for the radiologist by a factor of more than 5 to 6-fold, not 5 to 6%, but 5 to 6-fold. And I absolutely believe that that's possible. So RADLogics' ability to be able to take a chest CT scan and make findings from the scan, populate and pre-populate a report with important findings, and then allow radiologists to review and supplement those, does many of the features that the scribes are doing. Some of the new features of Nuance and existing features allow one to automate the process that those scribes are doing also. And so I believe that with the integration that we're seeing with RADLogics, with Nuance, there's the potential to be able to significantly improve efficiency. And so I'm really optimistic about the potential of AI being able to not only make new findings, have new insights, there are so many really cool things coming up, but actually to significantly improve efficiency. And if we can do just a fraction of what that manual process with the scribes did with a combination of systems such as RADLogics and Nuance, I think it'll be really, really big and allow us to be able to rise up to some of the challenges associated with the sort of second wave and second phase of the first wave of COVID, and then beyond that. And I think that the potential to be able to use AI to be able to follow and predict trajectory of disease. Some of the work that I did with RADLogics was in looking at applying machine learning really rapidly to be able to deploy algorithms to find instances of chest CT scans with COVID. And in order to be able to streamline a process that normally might take years to just weeks, one needed to be able to take existing tools and existing software and use transfer learning to be able to apply that to get these algorithms out. And the potential now to be able to discover, quantify COVID, and then over time be able to create a trajectory of change to predict which subset of patients might need ventilators, which subset of patients could be discharged, which subset of patients might do better and worse. And so there are so many AI applications that we're seeing that are emerging and that seem to allow one to be able to handle some of these major challenges you're talking about with COVID.
So it sounds like what you're saying is we'll be able to do, hopefully be able to do more work, but not just more work, we'll be able to do more work better and be able to predict better how patient outcomes might go.
Absolutely. And I think that that's a really important combination. And I don't think that that's only going to last during the COVID surge or post-COVID. I think there's going to be a new emerging reality in radiology where we are able to take advantage of the partnership with AI and the partnership with our reporting vendors to be able to significantly improve our efficiency and productivity, which is something that we've been striving for many years, but I think we're on the cusp of having the technology to be able to achieve that.
I agree. I can sense your excitement, and I can tell you I share it as well. It's been a kind of a long haul, but I think we're getting to the edge now. I really want to thank you for participating in this and for helping us and the Nuance team understand how big the impact of these sorts of tools will be and how they can combine really to make radiology efficiency and accuracy and prediction far better than it has been in the past. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Patrick, for the opportunity and the great discussion too.
Absolutely. In our next segment, I'm going to be sharing a pre-recorded interview with Professor Sergey Morozov. He's the CEO of Moscow Diagnostics and Telemedicine in Moscow, and he's the Chief Radiology Officer of Moscow. And there are over 130 hospitals in the Moscow metro area. He's the past president of the European Society of Medical Imaging Informatics, and he's been involved in several critical projects, including the Moscow experiment, as it's known, that is looking at AI systems in action. And he's also leading projects to explore radiology quality management systems, performance, improvement techniques, and healthcare improvement through education and through utilization of groundbreaking software such as RADLogics and the ability to use it in conjunction with efficient tools like Nuance PowerScribe 360 or PS1. So let me let Dr. Morozov talk. Professor Morozov, I really want to thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us today so we can discuss a little bit about the COVID-19 situation in Russia and how AI and RADLogics have hopefully assisted you in that. So how did RADLogics end up getting integrated into this, and how does it help with the volume, and what are the primary benefits of using the software and AI for the COVID crisis?
Good question. Needed something which can help physicians. The thing is that we have collected as much physicians, radiologists as possible for CT analysis. We even retrained many physicians from X-ray or MR. I mean, also collect. We have provided support from reference center. But reference center, what does it mean? These are teleradiologists. And with teleradiologists, we could help to analyze only approximately 20 to 25% of all of these chest CT studies. So we needed something more. And when I saw the example of RADLogics, I called Ari and asked him whether he can help and get the service connected. And it took some time, but finally radiologists of Moscow, they received not second opinion, they received first reading. And that's what's important. So every CT study was read before radiologists by AI service. And it came to radiologists with, first of all, prioritization. So to divide studies with pathology and without pathology, and to indicate to radiologists which studies might have pathology. Then once radiologist opens up the study, it has indications where pathology is and with the probability of COVID-19. And then it has also DICOM SR file, so structured reporting file with description of the service and reporting template, which helps especially new radiologists or radiologists who were retrained from other modalities to be more confident in the diagnosis of COVID-19 and to feel that they have some support, that somebody is watching before them. So second pair of eyes watching on the images and helping them not to miss the diagnosis. Because what we see from our peer review system, and we run extensive peer review since approximately 5 years ago, 40% of all radiologic errors are just errors of missing the lesion. So that kind of service helps us not to miss the lesion, especially on high workflow, and especially for physicians who have just started to work with technology, so with young radiologists, let's say. This is really important. And of course, automatic measurements. And what we need is to automatically measure the amount of lung parenchyma involvement with viral pneumonia. And this is something what is also possible with the AI service. So radiologists mostly, first of all, they took it with caution because they were not sure how to use it. But we provided a lot of teaching and education, and the majority of radiologists were happy to have support from AI analyzing the images before they read them.
So it sounds like the software allowed you to, and your radiologists, to both be more accurate, more efficient, to prioritize tasks, and made them more comfortable in reading studies that otherwise they were somewhat unfamiliar with. That's very impressive. What sort of lessons have you learned, and how can we apply those moving forward?
Well, first lesson is that we should use international standard, because that allows us to be ready for any type of new diseases and to connect any new algorithms, services, systems, whatever. Because that's when international community can help, and international companies can help for local conditions. So the healthcare system, for example, in Russia, is very different from other countries. But the fact that we use infrastructure which works with international standards allows us to use international services and products. So that's important. The second thing is that we should collect opinions and build the knowledge base as soon as possible when the new disease develops, and to start training with online CME courses as soon as possible, because that would allow people to really get into the proper information field and at least to understand what is the disease and how to tackle it. The third thing is that AI is, as I was saying, is the first reading. I think and I hope that AI would become for radiology the safety standard. The same way as we buckling up in the car, we will use AI as a standard of safety. So without using AI, a radiologist would not be able to work, because it really helps not to miss the lesion. So we should not overhype AI. AI is not substitution of human mind. It's not substitution of human cognition. It's not substitution for wisdom. But AI is a great way not to miss the lesion, because that's what happens typically with radiologists who miss fractures, who miss breast cancers, who miss lung cancers, who miss the inflammation, or who are not sure whether it's inflammation or not. What we should do further is we should connect radiologic data with clinical data and really move towards prognostication. Because now, when we see small lesion on CT, we cannot be sure whether it is COVID or early lung cancer. So that's what we need. We need more so-called radiomics, in order to better understand early signs of disease. Because as a radiologist, I cannot differentiate minor signs which are almost non-visible to human eye. I hope very much that with proper combination of radiologic data with other clinical data, we would have really better clinical radiological services for clinical decision support and for making proper diagnosis. That's what's important. And
well, Dr. Moroz, oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Go, I was
Finally,
just going to say.
I think what we also need is very careful integration of AI services into workflow. Very often, I see companies which try to build something aside, something what works separately. You have to use multiple mouse clicks to upload images somewhere to get the result from there. No, we should have very simply integrated AI services into our workflows, and that would streamline the reporting and increase the effectiveness and efficiency of the systems.
Well, Dr. Morozov, I want to congratulate you on the excellent work you've done with your radiologists and in Moscow to combat this horrible pandemic. And I really want to thank you for your time and taking the time out of your day to discuss both the effects it's had on your team and how you've managed to use AI and RADLogics effectively to help combat it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Patrick.
So I just want to say it was my honor to actually be able to discuss with Dr. Morozov the groundbreaking work they've done in Moscow and also the potential for further work that we can all participate in. I'm now very pleased to introduce my colleague and expert reference, Linda McManus, who's, as we noted, recently joined us as our new Executive Vice President General Manager for the US, Canada, and the Americas. She came to us from Nuance, and I cannot tell you how pleased I am to have her on board. So let her take it away.
Thank you so much, Patrick and Moshe, as well as our esteemed guests, Dr. Siegel and Dr. Moroz. In addition, I really would like to thank my former colleagues at Nuance again for allowing us to share our thoughts today. Building on what's already been said, it's really clear that, one of the things that Dr. Siegel had touched on was the new normal. We've all been hearing this term. It's in every publication that we're picking up, but in order for us, it really is a new normal moving forward. AI must be used to augment the radiologist and increase productivity, reduce the burnout, and most importantly, save lives with the ability to drive more imaging throughput. That's what AI is going to bring for the radiology community. Now the question is, right, what vendor do we choose as a consumer and hospital facility, and when do we deploy this technology, right? So what I think that what we bring to the table, some differentiating points that are really clear are, right now we've got the comprehensive and fully integrated solution. It's really designed for a completely easy integration. There's no changes to the radiologist workflow. It's seamless. And we know the importance of the continuity in a radiologist workflow. It's critical. So really having this seamless integration is a big differentiator for us moving forward. Also, we know with CT and X-ray scan modules that those applications, are certain modalities, but we also have other modalities that will be coming to market very soon that we're working on with our scientific and clinical teams at RADLogics. So this pandemic will require potentially ongoing lifetime patient management. And one of the things that we need to think about is that post-COVID acute medical issues that we're hearing being discussed now. We're hearing, things around lung scarring and neurological issues. So COVID is, for as much as it's the pandemic and we're in it right now, it really almost appears as though it's here to stay in many ways. and the way in which it's affected all people in the entire world, we're going to need these tools to be able to create and continue with this new normal and serve our patients very well. We also bring the quantitative analysis. I mean, that's really key, patient monitoring and the track of the progression of the disease of COVID. That's going to tell us so much by being able to see, are they improving? What are the right diagnostic steps? Which patients need to be prioritized for intubation, for ventilation, right? Those are the types of things that we can provide through an AI algorithm that provides that quantitative analysis. That's a big differentiating of factor for us as well. Let's talk about accuracy with continuous updates. We have thousands, and as you heard Moshe describe early in the presentation, we have hundreds of thousands of cases analyzed, both through CT and X-ray for COVID. And so what that allows us to do is to leverage our technology and to leverage all the increasing analysis that we're going to be doing over time, and continue to improve our learning modules. So that's a big plus for us, is that our data is constantly being updated with thousands of new cases on a regular basis. So we'll be able to continue with updates that will drive even more accuracy. And of course, we have validated in clinical studies. We've tested thoroughly and extensively. And, you know, again, this is something we are not new to the AI environment. Having been in this business since 2010 and really looking at right now being the best of breed and early pioneers of the AI technology, really this is our new normal and your new normal going forward. How do we leverage AI? And we believe that RADLogics can be the vendor of choice for you. So let's talk a little bit about the seamless workflow. As you can see here, we have the Nuance PowerScribe PS1, the new user interface that's been developed by the Nuance organization. And you can see that our algorithm is designed to integrate very comprehensively and secure to really augment the acute care teams with deep clinical insight and actionable data in seconds to minutes. This is not something that you're going to be waiting and for the system to respond. This is a very seamless workflow integration. There's no extra steps. And our findings just, as Moshe mentioned, really just slide right into the radiologist workflow. They don't need to leave their current screen to review our findings. And really, we just become another set of eyes to help the radiologist in moving forward through such a large amount of cases that they look at every single day, and even increased cases with the COVID pandemic. And now we've got not only the surge in the initial pandemic, but we're going to see the electives increasing, as well as the second wave that we're hearing about to be expected sometime in fall. So really, again, this is about not burdening the radiologists with, and being able to provide a workflow that's seamless for them. Our solution can be configured to integrate directly within PowerScribe 1 as well as within PowerScribe 360. So it can work in both of those versions of the PowerScribe platform. So one of the things that I really would like to point out is that we do have FDA clearance for several solutions. And right now, we also just received clearance for the chest X-ray, as Moshe had mentioned earlier, just as recent as this past April. So the X-ray solution, the AI algorithm, is trained via a pattern recognition. It processes each chest X-ray and flags those that appear to contain a moderate to large size pneumothorax for urgent radiologist review. X-rays without an identified anomaly are placed right into the work list for routine review, which is the current standard. So that's, an expected workflow. As well as you can see here, we do have FDA authorization for COVID-19 as a result of in accordance with the FDA guidelines for imaging systems and software to address the COVID-19 public health emergency. So those have been authorized for us in addition to the clearance that we have. So let's talk about the key takeaways, right? What are those? The new normal, right? At this point, we really are in a new normal type of situation. The first wave continues, right? So we've got that initial pandemic. We've got the surge after the surge. And then, we've got the collection of the delayed procedures. Those are going to start increasing. I know in my community as well, folks are getting back into their clinicians' offices for their routine medical care. And so they're starting to become more comfortable with getting those elective procedures that they've postponed for several months. So that, that's the new normal. We've got the COVID pandemic, the electives, and then the potential and what we're being reported as the additional second wave coming sometime in fall. That's what we're here, that's what we live with right now. This is our new normal. What we need to do is really look at where can we find the trusted brand and the clinically validated AI solutions to help in radiology. We believe our RADLogics solutions can do that and be that for you. And then lastly, we are a trusted, proven brand. We've been an early mover, and we've had long-time successful collaboration with Nuance, as well as, our solution is ready to go. It's been thoroughly tested and available in the AI Marketplace at Nuance. So collaboratively, within the workflow, seamless, knowing your vendor that you're going to be working with can be one of true experience that has been battle-bred and tested, as we like to say, and now with the new normal. So these are our key takeaways. So what do you do next, right? What we want you to do is contact your Nuance sales rep or email diagnostics@nuance.com. And by all means, feel free to reach out to me directly, linda@radlogics.com. The next thing you want to do, right, is let's get a demo going. Let's show you what these algorithms can do, the power behind these solutions. So let's set up a demonstration and consultation for you. And then the last thing to do is really just to begin use. These are very useful algorithms for COVID-19 as well as for the pneumothorax, and you saw the FDA clearance that we have, the seamless integration with Nuance and the AI Marketplace. These are the three things that really we'd like for you to walk away with today. Contact Nuance, get the demo accomplished, because you'll be very pleased with what you're seeing. And then let's start the usage and let's get AI integrated into radiology sooner rather than later. With that, I'd like to thank all of you for joining us today, as well as all of our guests. And we look very forward to servicing you with our technology and our AI-powered solutions. On behalf of RADLogics and the panel today, thanks very much for joining. And thank you, Nuance, for hosting us. Have a great day.